Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jamie. It's July 26, 2022. I'm going to do a very quick video because I just got here to work and I don't really have a lot of time. I find that managing your time is for me, it's a challenge. But I am going to do this quick video. I just watched this. I didn't really watch it, but I was listening to Graham Stephan, which I'm going to link below his video, where he had kind of compiled some information from some other guys that have to do with the auto industry, and he says that clearly, like that he got the data from them, and he talks about, now he's a big influencer, has a couple million, I think 2 or 3 million, I don't know, followers. So obviously what he says is going to carry some weight. So I'm not trying to do that. I'm usually just trying to share for my friends and family. And when I started this, it was really for the kids about investing. So the auto industry has a big impact, just like the real estate market has a big impact on the United States as well as, globally, right? I think that everyone is impacted by the housing market and the auto industry. So it's relevant. It's relevant to the ripple effect of everything that could happen. And I don't mean ripple like XRP. I'm saying ripple effect, like if you throw a stone in the water, there's a ripple and everything is affect the whole lake, or whatever it is. You can see a result of that action. So I have said over and over again recently to the people I work with, whereas I'm in the auto industry, I've been in the auto industry for over 20 years, almost 22 years, I guess a little over 22 years. And I'm thankful for what I've been able to accomplish in that. And if I was to go after the real estate market and give you my opinions about, the realtor is taking advantage of the buyer and the seller, and they're getting 5-6%, it's just basically people are just overpaying for all the properties, and they're getting these huge commissions, and they're just gobbling up like, oh, on to the next one, on to the next one. They don't care about the people. They don't care about their wants and needs. They just want to get the listing. I know, because I have real estate agents, as I do some real estate investing with a small group, and not in a massive scale like some of the other guys, but we still are doing that. I actually can see, they throw property. They don't even take any consideration of some of the stuff I say. They're just throwing massive millions of dollars of properties at me. Like, it was one the other day, he sent me 2 properties that were $9 million properties. It had nothing to do with what I was even thinking. It was, hey, I just want to present this to you. I thought maybe you'd consider it. I'm like, I never said I want to spend $9 million. I'm like, well, what do you even come up with that? He's just taking a shot because he knows some other stuff, and he's just like, hey, maybe. So for them guys, and there's multiple ones, I feel like they're just throwing properties out there and seeing who bites, because in the end, it's just a big commission check for them. So anyway, I could go on a long tangent about that, but I don't, because there's a lot of things that happen in the world that are out of my control, and I'm certainly not an authority. I can give you my opinions. But what Graham Stephan said kind of aggravated me, because he took someone else's data and he said, oh, the auto industry will have somebody come in and, try to buy a car. This has been going on for decades, right? Like, for a long time. And people will say, hey, I want an auto loan. And the auto loan, they'll say, okay, I can get you 4.9%. I'll give you an example. And we have what's called, and this is any bank, this is the housing market lender, because I have friends that are in the lending, the lenders, and they hold points. They hold a half a point, a quarter point, a point, 2 points, whatever it is, and they make money on the reserve, which is the back end. They're all simple interest loans, so you get paid off. The people that get hurt the most usually are the ones that get the really high rates, 15, 20% or something like that, depending on the state. Some are higher. So those people get crushed because they're paying all interest. And nobody cares about that. Like, nobody talks about, those folks are just paying all interest, getting crushed. Now, we don't really participate in that. We don't have that kind of market. But a lot of people get very rich on the other end, the bank and the seller of those type of industries. And it's just not just the auto industry, of people that are willing to pay that. And a lot of them are ignorant. So I think that people should not be gouged. I personally think it hurts. It hurts in the long run. The customer is going to feel that later, and you're hurting them and their family. But people are getting gouged, and it's going to happen. But that's in any business. People are getting gouged everywhere. The markup in certain businesses, which would be a whole topic of how much they mark up jewelry or furniture, or what a lawyer charges, or I don't know, whatever you want to fill in the blank with. We could debate, who's getting taken advantage of financially, but the housing market I think has a little bit of a bigger impact than the auto industry, because you can go out and get a cheap car. You don't have to go buy an Escalade. You don't have to go out and buy a $100,000 Tesla or Porsche, or a $60,000, $70,000, $50,000 car. You can get something $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. That is, I know you can. You don't have to spend this larger amount of money on a vehicle to get you from point A to point B. That's a choice. And if you buy a house, you have no control over the rates that are available. Like, even if you have the best credit, the rates are going to be the rates. And then you can only have so much money that you can put down, but you're going to pick the price of the house that you're going to buy. You're like, okay, for the market I'm looking to buy in, this is what that 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, whatever bathroom, square footage, yard, that is what's going to be available. So the car market there's like, if I look at right now at one of our stores, we have no inventory. The lot is empty. Look, there's no cars there. It's huge. It's the whole lot. In the front, we have no inventory. At this store, we would sell 200 to 250 cars. We're selling like less than 100 cars now. So what's happening is supply and demand and scarcity. People come in and they're like, well, I want to buy this car. Can you negotiate? And the answer is no, because we can't replace the car. Meaning the dealer, they don't have another car coming in. And if they do, they're operating 30-40%, some places 50% less than what they have been. So they're marking it up to try to make up their losses of volume. And if somebody comes in and they want to buy a car, it's up to them to get the financing. It's a cost of doing business. Just like anything, there's all type of fees that you're going to have to pay. Now, I'm not going to break it all down today but maybe I'm going to start talking a little bit about that, because that's really my number one expertise as far as in the retail side of the auto industry. I have purchased millions and millions of dollars worth of inventory. I couldn't tell you the exact amount, but certainly probably tens of millions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars over the years of inventory I purchased for the dealers to sell. So I know a thing about the market when you go to the auction and you buy a car. Now, Graham mentions about somebody going to a dealership, they buy a car, right? They buy a car, they're going to overpay, whether it's a new car or a used car. That's what's going to happen wherever you go, and 90% of the time, 95% of the time is what's going to happen. That is, even for me, my wife is interested in buying a car, and we know a lot of people, and even if I go to the auction and buy it, I have to pay the market price of the vehicle, and it's still high. I think it's going to start to come down, but in the same token, if you have a car to trade in or to sell, you are going to get overcompensated because of the value. Now, it's never been as high as it has been that I've seen, and that will change, because at some point, it's like an overpriced stock. If like this car that I'm driving is a 2019 Volkswagen Jetta GLI 35th anniversary, I believe, and it's a DSG paddle shift. Like, for me, it's a fun little car. It's good in gas, and this is what I use to get around. It zips in and out of traffic. It's big enough. It's a safe car, and I could get something else, and we have a couple other cars that we use for the family, but this is my daily driver for the most part. Now, when I first got this car, I leased it, and usually we'll have a car that we lease, and then we get into another car because there's not a lot of headache, and plus I'm in the business, so I have some incentives to do that. Well, this car I decided to buy at the end of the lease, but when I get a lease, I prefer to put little to nothing down. And again, that's a whole nother topic. And I'm going to start talking about that kind of stuff. I think it's important to mention it and give a different perspective. But I want to talk about the values of the cars. So this car right now, when I first got it, if I was to get out of it early, I would get crushed. I shouldn't say get crushed, but I would probably lose $3,000 on average easily. If I said, let me trade it in, and what's the value of the car? Okay, the car is worth 15, or the car is worth 20, and you owe 23 or 24, for example. All right, so I don't know the percentages there, but it's going to be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 that I would be negative equity. So I'd either just turn the car in and let either the dealer or the manufacturer remarket the brand, whatever the car is. So it goes into the marketplace, and then the dealer would buy the car, or another dealer would buy the car if the manufacturer said, okay, the dealer, they grounded the car, didn't want it, so we put it into the marketplace, and some other dealer will buy it. So whether it's a Toyota, Honda, Jeep, Ford, GMC, whatever the brand is, it's going to become available if you turn it into the dealer. Now, the person that turned the car in walks away, right? And they usually can turn it in, so unless there's a disposition fee, let's say it's $300 or $400, meaning the dealer, the manufacturer restocks the car in, and then if they're over the mileage or there's some damage, or if that wasn't covered, they're going to get a bill, okay? And then if there's excise tax and all that type of thing. Now, if there is none of that, they just have to pay the disposition fee, and then basically they get into another vehicle, whether they pay cash, lease another car, finance a car. It's up to them, or get nothing, okay? And they start over. They don't have to worry about that negative equity. Now, if they had equity, they could apply that equity to the new car, whether they finance, lease, or pay cash, okay? They won't get a tax credit, but, they would get the equity. Most cases, up till recently, a lot of people were usually realistically upside down. They owed more than the car is worth, okay? But over the past year and a half, I'd say-ish, that has not been the case. It has been where the car is worth more. And it just kept going higher and higher and higher. So like this car, I think brand new is like in the low 30s. And, if I was to try to sell this car myself, I could probably get close to that. I could probably get somewhere between, as I do this video, I know because I checked. I mean, they're selling for anywhere around retail 28, 29,000, and the car's 3 years old with 43,000 miles. But that's what they're getting today. Do I think that will last? No, I don't think that will last. I think that price is like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 over, what it should be. And it's the same thing with my wife's car, which she does usually every 2 years. She was $2 or $3 grand below. Now she's getting, for her truck, she has a Yukon Denali X, a big truck, and she was she could get almost $10,000 in her pocket, but she won't get rid of it because she can't get a replacement for what she wants. So she can't cash in on that equity. But if you could, you take the money, which I think is smart, and then you could do something else, and then you could decide if you want to get something else that just is practical and get you from point A to point B, because that has typically been the car market. But right now, with all these different things that are happening between the stuff going on with politics and inflation and all the different things that are happening, they're having an effect, which is just such a huge discussion. It's just like a broken record. And I hate to be negative and just keep going on and on about the same things over and over again that most of us already know. But what's going to happen is a lot of the people that have overpaid for a car, just like a house, unless they're going to keep the house and live in the house and create memories and keep their job and able to pay the mortgage, right? Because it doesn't really matter. If you love the home you live in, right, you're going to live there. Versus if it's an investment, you're either going to flip it for a profit and you hope that those values stay high, because if you pay too much for the property, which I've seen, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to flip it, and then the market crashes, and like what you paid and what you invested into it, and you try to flip it, and the market goes down 10, 20, 30%, what are you going to do? Right? You're going to have to eat it or be able to sustain yourself to get through it, and that's going to be tough, and that's where opportunities open up for other people with the money on hand that are looking for those people that are over leveraged. So same thing with a car. If you got into a car and your payment's $700, $800 a month, or $1,000 or $1,500, I don't know. I mean, there's some pretty crazy payments out there. This isn't for people that are making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 or more a year. This is for people that combined house income is, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000, and you got all the other costs of living that come into effect, and then you lose your job. Right? Or if you go to try to trade in the car and you overpaid for the car and you didn't have a trade and you had no money to put down, you're going to be in a tough spot. I agree. And I think the market, the auto industry, is going to be in a tough spot because the dealers that overcharged people, right? Because they did, But there was a reason that they did, is because a lot when they had an abundance of cars, they were discounting those cars heavily to keep the cars moving for the most part. So it's not like they're selling the same amount of cars and making these big, huge profits. They're not. They're selling 20, 30, 40, 50% less than what they have been in the past. And they're trying to keep people employed, which is, you got technicians, you have service writers, you have people at the receptions, you have people in the office, you have salespeople, finance people, there's a lot of people that are employed at the dealerships that have families that are just providing a service and a product. And you can shop around and you're going to get the same prices. You don't have to go to a dealership to get financing. All right, if you're going to lease it, you have to go through the manufacturer in most cases. But if you're going to finance a car, you don't have to go to that dealer. You can say, hey, I went to my bank or credit union and they offer this rate, and I want to make sure it's in line, okay? And if it's in line, or sometimes the dealerships will have a better rate or a subvented rate, granted, whatever the rates are available, and you can decide and you can choose. So don't say, oh, the dealer's marking up they're marking up the rate and just taking advantage of everyone. No, it's a cost of doing business sometimes. Wherever you go, if you're not paying attention in anything, you can overpay for something. You can buy some socks at Walmart and go on Amazon and find those socks for $1 or $2 less. I mean, do your due diligence, right? So if you're going to go to a dealer to buy a car and they tell you, hey, it's 6.9%, and you can go to your local bank or credit union and get 5.9%, just as an example, then just say that. I would say, hey, I could get 5.9 in my credit union. Are you able to match that or do better? The dealership will still get a fee, like, a flat or just something to doing the paperwork, right? But your hands aren't tied. You have to go through the dealership to do the financing. You can show up with a bank check. So we don't have control of the inventory or the chip, the chips and stuff like that. I mean, that's stuff that's out of the dealership's control. We don't manufacture chips, semiconductors, and things like that. We can only sell the cars that the manufacturer give us to kind of sell to the public. And then if you don't want to buy the car and pay 5, 10, 20%, depending on the car you're buying, over sticker on a new car, then you can go somewhere else. And I don't mean that like to be rude. I'm just saying that you can go somewhere else. You can shop. Everything is in the palm of your hand. You can jump online and go to Car Gurus, Cars.com, Auto Traders, so many different places that the manufacturer, OEM, will tell you what the market is, and then you can make a decision that best suits you. Same thing with the used car market. If you find a car in a certain color, has certain equipment, certain miles, if it's certified or not, you can decide what you want to pay. It's up to you. I just had two friends, that wanted to buy cars, used cars. One was for their son, one was for their wife. They told me what they could pay, right? Or what they wanted to pay and the prices they were getting. Now, I found a solution for them that worked, and then they decide if they're going to finance or pay cash. One of the friends said, at my bank, in this case it was Bank of America, and he said, here's the rate I can get, and that was it. And I said, okay, I'll see if I can get the same rate or better. I was able to get him the same rate, actually through the same bank, and it was just an ease of doing business. He felt comfortable, and that was it. But at the end of the day, if I say to him, I think this is the market and this is the price of the car, and in a year or two from now, it's not going to be worth that. So whether he puts money down or not, he didn't really care, because he's like, this is what she wants. This is what she's going to get, and that's it. I can't argue with him and debate it. If this customer wants to pay a certain amount of car from us or somewhere else, I mean, in this case, I was able to save him some money because I got him a better price, and he was happy, and I got him a better price on warranty stuff. But ultimately, it's his decision, the family's decision, the woman's decision, if they want to make that investment. Now, if they keep the car for 3 to 5 years, they pay the car off. In this case, they have a loan. I mean, it'll have some value, but it's tough if the car get totaled or stolen today. They'd actually make money because the car is worth more than what they're paying, okay? But if they went to trade in the car and the values drop, and the values drop 10% or 20%, then they would probably find themselves like upside down, like, oh, wow, we paid X amount of money for the car, and now it's only worth this much. Well, that's been going on for a long, long, long time. So there's going to be consequences in any market, right? In any market, in any industry, whether it's the I don't want to get into all the segments, but like it doesn't matter what you're in. If you're in energy or technology or the real estate market or the medical field, there's things happening everywhere that have a rise in prices of products and services that are going to be relevant to your business, and they're going to affect your pocket. Whether you own a business or you have people that work for you, or if you're working for somebody, you're going to see the effects. Okay, so I've gone on quite a bit here, and I just wanted to touch upon that, and I'm going to start talking about it because I think it's fair. Anybody can get on a platform and say, "Oh, you got to what?" And here's my opinion thing. That's fine. You can do that. You have that right to do it, and you may agree or disagree with that information, but I think you just got to pay attention, to these. You just pay attention to these things, and then do your due diligence, as they say, and then make a decision. I don't think it's good to make impulse buys or to jump into things unless there's, like sometimes you're forced to take action. But even then, you can come up with one or two options. But if you're bidding on a house, or up until recently, sometimes it's like, okay, I want to move to this market. Then you have to decide if you want to pay 3% over or whatever the case is. If that is the place you need to live, right? You're like, I need to be there for my work or family, and this is the only property available. Then you might have to pay the premium, right? And hopefully it works out in the long run versus short term. If you need a car and you're like, my car got totaled, or I just moved in, or I'm adding a car to my family, then maybe you'll look at a dealer or two that has the car that works. And you're going to say, okay, I checked 1 or 2 or 3 dealers, and if I buy this car now, I got to realize that in today's market, I might overpay, right? You have no control of the rates other than your credit. You can only put what you can put down. You can adjust the term, and then that price is going to reflect your payment if you're financing, or if you're just writing a check and I only have this much money, then you're going to find the cars that are available. But those prices rise and fall in any market. So we can't control what's going to happen over the next 6 months to 2 years. I do think that what's happening with the cars that are going to kind of come back, a lot of times people are going to find that they're going to be upside down. A lot of the banks are going to be affected if those cars get repossessed and have to go back in. They're going to take a loss. But I mean, this does happen, and it will continue to happen in any place in the world, with supply and demand for real estate, as well as cars and real estate. All right, that's it, guys. That's my 2 cents for the day. That was a long one. I'll see you guys next time. Talk about stock.